Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Grassroots Racer. This week I speak to a driver who's not only studying mechanical engineering and doing year 12, but he also loves getting into a race car whenever he can. And he's had opportunities to do some really cool stuff as well, so we'll wait till later on. But it's a big welcome to Campbell Logan. So to find out more about his racing journey, how are you, Campbell?
Good. Thanks for having me on. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, I always like to start off by finding out how you got into motorsport. So where did it all start for you?
It started back in 2016, so I was 12, and my dad was a co-driver back in his rally days, but I never quite took an interest. And he said, "Oh, come watch this film." It was the Rush film with Nicky Lauda and James Hunter. From that, I just found the love for it, and somehow found go-karts. And I went to Dad and said, "Oh, can I go on a go-kart?" And he said no, because he knew how much it was going to cost. So. That's how I got into it. And then, I've just kind of, from watching Rush, found Formula One and then found go-kart.
So how long did you race go-karts for?
I raced go-karts for 4 years, and I started pretty late. So not a heap of time, but really enjoyed it. I'm going back on track on Sunday. So I really do enjoy the karting.
Yeah, so you were 12 years old when you started. Mark Webber was 11. It's never too late.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you raced for 4 years and then you moved to car racing. What did you start off racing in?
Yeah, so I started off racing a Hyundai XL, which was actually built by Brody Kostecki, which is really cool. And they were up at Norwell, were really good with us handing that car over. And in 2021, when I started racing cars, I started racing my XL down here in Tassie, and then I got to race Toyota 86 at the end of the year, which was pretty cool.
So did it take much to get into Toyota 86, and did you pick it up quickly?
I'd like to say yes, but I have spent a lot of time up at Norwell driving Toyota 86s. Like getting coached up in those cars really has made the step to 86 a lot easier for me. So that's been quite the key for me, yeah.
And where did you start off racing in the Toyota 86? Do you remember your first race?
Yeah. It was at Bathurst at the end of the year, which was awesome. A whole week of just being at Bathurst. I mean, we only had a session a day, but it was just awesome. Like, I'd never been to Bathurst in my life, but to also go and drive there was just awesome, and watch the 1000. Seriously cool.
It would have been very difficult to adjust to a new car on a new track. So you've definitely kept it out. You kept it out of the wall, so that's a good thing. And did you feel like the competitors were more serious about it compared to Hyundai XL, or did you all have the same passion?
Don't get it wrong, XLs are really competitive, but I just found it's a big step up in the intensity. Toyota 86, like it's I remember that first race. I got out of the car and I was like, whoa, that was much more intense than what I'm used to. I'm not sure if that was being Bathurst, but even when we raced in Sydney this year, it was, no one wants to give up a position. It's really brutal racing.
And back to Norwell, you said you did a bit of training up there. When you said you did a bit of training, how many sessions did you do up there, you reckon?
Oh, I've had to start with quite a few trips up there. I've been once this year, planning to go again, but last year I spent maybe 3 times up there, which was pretty cool, and go for a day or two and do half days and learn heaps, which is really good.
And also, you mentioned to me that your dad did do a bit of rally. What did he get into?
He did a lot of Target Tasmania stuff. He never drove, always the co-driver, always the navigator. A lot of Target Tasmania. Did a few World Rally. Oh, I don't think it was World Rally Championship rounds, but definitely Australian Rally Championship rounds. They might have done a World Rally Championship round when they came to Australia, but yeah, he definitely did some racing.
Did he have a favourite car that he used to be in?
I'm sure he does, but I can't quite remember. If I was to guess, it'd probably be. I remember they drove there's World Rally Championship, and then there's the next step below. They drove. He was a co-driver for one of those cars one time, a Subaru, which would probably be his favourite.
Yeah, I had a friend on here and a previous guest. He was a co-driver, and they did I can't remember what Audi it was, but they did Tiger and the Audi in the Australian Rally Championship, and he
Wow.
said it was one of the best things he's ever done. So it's quite
Yeah,
incredible,
yeah.
the rally, and I hope to go there with my dad one day. He said that was his dream. So we've got a car that could do it, but it's an Alpha, might break down.
Yep. No, it's definitely cool.
Yeah. So do you have any sort of dreams to do any rallies with your dad, or not at the moment?
I mean, trees don't move. Like rally isn't. It's never been my big interest, but to be honest, just seeing Shane Van Gisbergen doing some rally actually really spiked my interest. But I don't quite think I could convince myself to risk running into trees, to be honest.
And I'll have to quickly just jump off that topic for a second. I did say that you were studying this year. Do you find it hard to study and race at the same time?
Yeah, look, it's being in year 12, it's a pretty critical year, and it is hard to manage it. It's hard to balance it. There's a lot of nights of just studying, and it's quite hard, but that's just how it goes. I just do school and racing, which is good for me. I enjoy both. So I wish I could do a bit more racing at school, but no, you got to do the school as well.
I agree 100%. I'd love to be in the race car every weekend, but school does stop you from doing that. And it's good to learn all the time, because at the moment you're studying mechanical engineering, so you're obviously learning a lot. Is there a bit of hands-on involved with that?
Oh, I'm not studying mechanical engineering yet.
Oh,
I
right.
want to go to uni and do that. I'm currently just doing, a lot of maths, a lot of physics, that sort of stuff, which is pretty cool. It's pretty interesting to learn about that sort of stuff, and even talking to my teacher about just applying it to racing, like what it means, why certain things are doing stuff. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I always talk to my teachers about, can I use this when I'm at the track? And sometimes they get a bit confused, but it's all good.
Yeah.
Another thing is, when you jumped into Toyota 86, you said you only got one session per day. Did you notice that the track conditions changed a lot, and does that affect Bathurst at all?
Hard to say, because I spent the whole weekend just building up right until the last race. I wasn't there to prove anything, or my slowest session was the first one, fastest was the last one. So, definitely different times of the day were quite critical. For our last race, we were on Sunday morning, which was really cool. And that was nice and cool, and the track was really fast, but qualifying was much slower. So in that regard, yeah, you can notice it, but for me, not so much. But when we go back in May, I'll be able to have a bit more of a feel, which will be good.
Yeah, I think that you've had the opportunity to race at Bathurst is super cool. And like when I turn 16, I'm going to go there, which is hopefully a couple of years. It'll be next year. So be able to go next year after June. So hopefully I'll be able to go out there and race a big event maybe, or just something small. But yeah, the opportunity to race at Bathurst is amazing.
Yeah, look, even when we went to the track walk before the weekend started, I've done 1,000 laps of Bathurst on the sim. You just do not realise the elevation is seriously crazy. I really couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I noticed the elevation on the simulator when I got in the Formula V on iRacing. It's slow.
Mm.
So you said you hop on the simulator. Do you do much simulator work to put that into real life?
Well, yeah. Firstly, I really do enjoy sim racing. Like, it is really fun. Love getting on with my mates and having some fun and having some really hard racing. But yeah, definitely for tracks that I haven't been to, do a bit of sim work. So tracks like Townsville are coming up, I'll use the sim just to learn the track a bit. There's only so much you can get out of it, but yeah, it definitely does help.
Yeah, one thing I noticed is you can't really go off the apexes and exits too much. You can get a rough racing line, rough braking points, and it just helps a lot with the track direction.
Yeah,
that's what I noticed.
Yep.
But yeah, it's really hard to determine where the bumps are and stuff, because for Sandown, in the Formula V, I jumped in and it was just totally different to what I expected. So luckily I knew which way the track went, but yeah, it was definitely a big learning curve to learn over the weekend.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
And you did Bathurst. Where did you head off to next, and how did you go?
So Bathurst was December at the end of last year. So pretty much the last race meeting for the year. It was really close to Christmas. But the next race that I did was SMP for round one of the Supercars. We were there with the Toyota 86 again. That was really wet. It was quite on and off, and I've driven a car in the wet once, and it was my XL back down home. So that was a big challenge for me, just trying to learn that on the fly. We did all right, finished in the top 10 for the weekend, which I was a little disappointed with, but, I've learned a lot from that weekend, which is good, and I'll move forward with it.
Is that the one where there was a big accident coming through turn one? I think Clay Richards was in it. Is that?
I don't think Clay was in any accidents, but there was definitely quite a few accidents that weekend. Quite a few people went off at turn one at the same time. There's quite a few ones at turn eight, it was really quite trying conditions. It was really, really tough.
Is SMP one of them tracks that looks grippy but is very loose, like on the car?
Well, qualifying was dry, and I've never driven a dry lap there before qualifying. So, firstly, the track's just really, really tricky. It's a really tricky track to get all three sectors together. You can put different sectors together on different laps, but to get it all done on one lap that's the real challenge of SMP. It is, when the rubber does go down, it is quite grippy, but it had rained in the sessions before we got there. So it was quite slippery. It's still wet in a few areas. So, yeah, it was a bit slippery when we were there.
Yeah, so I've done a bit of the sim, and I noticed that the tracks in different cars, there's different grip levels. Is it hard with the elevation change? Because that's also one of the tracks that you don't really notice the elevation change until you're there.
The elevation change isn't totally crazy like Bathurst, but there certainly is quite a bit of elevation change. I just think it's a really, really tough circuit. It is probably the hardest circuit I've been to, and Winton would be second to that. They're both really, really tough circuits. So, yeah, the elevation does make a difference, but yeah, it's quite a trying track.
Yeah, I had a struggle at Winton. I noticed that the track was very difficult, but it's one of them tracks I think that once you learn it, it's sort of implanted in your head, and you'll be able to do it any other time.
Yep, I reckon too.
So how did the opportunity come about that you got to drive in an Erebus Supercar?
That came up I was actually at Norwell getting some training in before a race, and the head coach there, Erebus truck drove in, and, we kind of asked, what's going on there? And they said, this is happening. Are you interested? And obviously said yes. Was really, really, really cool. I didn't quite know what I was in for till I got in the car. There was a group of, I think, 6 of us, and it was just, smiles all around. It was such a great day. Everyone really enjoyed it.
I bet there was smiles all around. I would be smiling too if I got the opportunity to drive in a V8 Supercar. Was it Brody Kostecki's car, or was it just the spare car?
It's their ride car. So it's one of their old Mercedes cars that they just use for, I think it's drag racing at Darwin in it, but usually on the ride days they'll use that car. That's what it was. It had 2 seats in it just because it's their normal ride car. But yeah, Brody and Will Brown were both there on that day, which was cool.
I had a friend who did the Aussie Driver's Search, and he got to, it wasn't really a ride car, but it was like a V8 Supercar with the passenger seat in it, and he learned how to drive it at Phillip Island. So it's really cool that, you get the opportunity to drive it. And apparently, one key thing is if you're not at a certain gear by the exit of the corner, you're going to lose a lot of speed.
Yeah, that's just the nature of having so much horsepower, like being able to get it down. But like you said, it was such an awesome opportunity. A massive thank you goes to both Norwell Motorplex and Erebus, because, not many opportunities for young drivers like myself come by like that very often. So yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, and did you do much talking with Paul Morris when you were up there?
Yeah, I've speak to Paul when I'm up there, and I've done a bit of training with him. And when I first went there, he was he was really, really helpful with me. It wasn't quite clicking for me, that jump from a go-kart to a car, and he hopped in and just, like click of the fingers, it was really good. Paul's really, really knowledgeable and yeah, really good.
Well, as a Bathurst winner, I'm guessing he definitely would be.
Yeah.
What would you say has been your favourite track to race at so far?
I think it's got to be Bathurst. Yeah, like it's just dream come true to race at Bathurst. It was so cool. It was really, really awesome.
Yeah, I think I saw that one coming. But yeah, Bathurst is a great track. And do you have a track you'd like to visit one day around the world?
Oh, that's a really good question. I want to drive more tracks on the mainland here in Australia first, but if I was to pick a track internationally, either Spa or Silverstone, maybe. They're really, really cool. I really like those tracks.
Yeah, they're nice high speed tracks as well, so they're very tricky. I sort of like tracks like that though. Tight corners, I struggle sometimes. So I've got good mid corner speed just in general as a driver. I need to work on my exit speed. So maybe that's a learning point for me.
Yeah.
What do you think your goals are, and where would you like to end up in motorsport?
Well, I'd really like to make a professional career out of it, like we all would. Like that's the big dream for me. If it was to go all my way, I'd love to race supercars. That's just, that's really what I want to do. I watch the guys now and I just go, I wish I was in your seat. Like, it's just awesome. So hopefully supercars, but definitely not blocking out other options for sure.
Who do you think's going to win at Albert Park in the V8 supercars?
It'd be hard to put it past Shane, but Brock Feeney's been doing a really, really good job, which has been awesome to see for young drivers like us. Brock's awesome. He's a really good driver and a great guy. So I'd like to see Brock get a win. That would be really cool for young drivers like us.
And this is going to be a different one, but what about S5000? Because they're racing there this weekend as well.
Yeah, they definitely are. There's a lot of guys. I think it's the biggest field they've ever had, with 17 cars or something. So could be anyone's, the usual guys, Joey Mawson, Jimmy Golding, they'll be right up there. So whether some of the outsiders can come in, like James Davison from IndyCar, or used to race IndyCar, whether they can cause an upset, or Cooper Webster's been doing a really good job. So I think it's anyone's game, really.
Cooper Webster he was national champion when I was karting, so it's good to see him in S5000 now. There's a lot of people who used to be in a couple classes above me now who are doing really great things, so especially Jay Hansen. He and Cooper Webster, they used to battle it out all the time, so now they're up there in the professional motorsport, so it's good to see lots of them guys now in a higher sort of league in motorsport. Do you have where do you think your next goal is? Like, what category do you think you'll try and get into next?
Well, at the moment, I'm just really focused on getting good results in 86. That's my goal at the moment. But down the track, if really the clear way for me is to sort of go Super 3 and Super 2. Like, there's not many guys that are getting into supercars without doing Super 2. So that's the big one. And, you mentioned Jay Hansen. I get along with him really well, and he's obviously killing it in TCR at the moment, but he's just made the step to Super 2 as well, which is really cool to see. But yeah, that's kind of where you need to be to make supercars. So somewhere down that route would be cool.
Yeah, I definitely think it's the way to go. And I've really enjoyed chatting to you about grassroots racing tonight. It's been a different experience for you, went from racing in 86 late last year to jumping in a supercar, and now you're racing 86 full time. So it's great to find out about what you have done, and I wish you all the best for the future. And I look forward to catching up with you at the track one day. And to everyone out there getting a chance to race this weekend, remember, drive fast and take chances.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Yep. And what's your dad's name?
Will Logan.
Thanks, Will. I really appreciate you watching the show. All right, catch you guys.